Hey everyone, today I have a really fun and exciting guest. I'm really looking forward to talking to Gina Hendrix. I believe they call her the matchmaker to the stars. I know she deals with a lot of high profile people, so she's probably going to tell us about that. And she's written a couple of books. I bought one, and I'm going to ask her about the other one once I talk to her. But yeah, Gina is a real sweetheart, and she has some charities, or at least one charity I know about, models and mutts, that I want to ask her about that too. And yeah, I've known Gina for a while, and she's a really sweet person, but she's also very successful. So I'm interested to hear what she's up to lately. So please welcome Gina Hendrix.
Welcome to my podcast where I'll be speaking with guests candidly about interesting topics. So join me on Candid with Kimbra.
I want to welcome my beautiful guest, Gina Hendrix. And I've been calling you matchmaker to the stars, but
accurate. Billionaires matchmaker, celebrity matchmaker, whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
I've worked with everybody at this point.
I know. And I was doing a little research on you because I've known you for a while.
Long time, actually, not a while, a long time.
Yeah, we won't go into how many years. We were just kids. But no, did you really start in 2008 though with the matchmaking service? Matchmaking company, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And that's when I also started on LA Talk Radio, which is how I met what's his face. Yeah, Lucia. That's right, okay. Lucia.
So, okay, 2008, you started your business, and then I know that you've written two books, which I was going to get into later, but you wrote one in 2014 and then another one in 2021, right?
Yes, I guess that's about right. Yeah, I mean, I've actually written four, but one I put out during the pandemic was called The Badass Pivot, and it was kind of how to reset yourself. But I kind of put it out in a hurry, and then I don't know, I pulled it from Amazon. I should put it back out because it touched on a lot of things that was like how I reinvented myself, because especially during COVID, people had to figure out like a new normal and had to figure out how to reinvent themselves. And so anyway, so I put that out. I should do something with it though, because it's a really good, after today, I'm going to go read.
I'm inspiring you to put the book out.
Well, it was out, I had a whole thing. It was all formatted and everything. Anyway, and then actually there's a book that I wrote before I wrote any of these others. And also a little bit more about how to see it's weird because, everybody knows me as matchmaker, which I am, but I only became a matchmaker because I have this whole belief about resetting yourself and starting over.
I'm on that same page. I'm always reinventing myself,
Reinventing yourself, that's key. Actually, it's key to staying young and relevant. And I just never get the opportunity to talk about it, but that's, I'm really into that. So anyway.
So yeah, that brings up a good point because I was going to ask you before you were a matchmaker, what were your goals and aspirations? Were you in another career or?
Yeah, I've had three careers. So let's go back to Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, I thought you were from the South. I thought you were from
I was 10 years old. I was obsessed with Los Angeles. As a kid, I was obsessed with Los Angeles. So I ordered the Yellow Pages from Los Angeles because there were no computers back then. And I was obsessed with Scott Baio and Rod Stewart. And so I would just look through the Yellow Pages and just sometimes call people, just like connect with somebody in LA,
Talk to me.
Hello, I'm 10 years old. And thank God, nothing happened.
Right.
But scarier these days, I guess. But anyway, so I was obsessed but my passion, so I've always followed my passions. Okay. My first passion was Los Angeles. I was obsessed. So then, what happened was I won a contest on the radio, and I was 19 and I got to fly to LA and meet Rod Stewart and stay for the weekend. Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah.
It was kind of fortuitous.
Like manifest. It was the first time I really ever manifested because that was all I ever thought about, and it happened. And so I got to come out and spend a weekend in Los Angeles. And at the time I was going to college in Memphis and I was cocktailing in the lobby bar of the Peabody Hotel. And so when I came to LA, it was like, oh my God, I got to get my hooks into a few people, make connections and I did. And then when I went back to LA, just a few months later, I was cocktailing in the lobby bar because during the day it was slow. You just had to keep the ducks in the little fountain there.
Okay.
But there was a ticket counter for Delta Airlines. And I was like, hmm. And I went over, I said, do you have a base in Los Angeles? They said, well, yes, we do. And I got the application, put it in, and I got based in LA. I was a flight attendant for Delta, and I did that for 9 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was based in LA the whole time. I was the last person out of my class because you could have gotten based anywhere.
Oh,
But I was the last person in my class that made it to LA. So I got based in LA, did that for 9 years, and was great because it gave me insurance, a steady kind of existence here. And then I was always interested in fashion and style. And then I became a celebrity fashion stylist. It wasn't quite that easy, but I was always getting compliments on my style and I loved it. And then I lived with a guy who was an art director on music videos, so I started assisting stylists that he knew, and then I made my connections. And so then I was one of the top Hollywood stylists for 10 years.
wow, I didn't know. I did not know. I always wondered what you did before, the matchmaking, and now I know, you know.
Yeah, now you know. And so I loved styling. I love it. So that's how now you see comes full circle. So now when I do my coaching stuff that I do for women, I don't do matchmaking for women. I only do matchmaking for
Right. I was
men
going to ask you about that because
at a
on your,
very high level. Yeah.
I was just going to say on your website, it's got the men and the women, but I know that you coach women, right?
Yeah,
On how to.
correct. Because the thing is, what I discovered is, and now I can combine my fashion sense and style and the matchmaking. It kind of all comes together. So for the women, I don't do matchmaking. It doesn't work for women the way it works for men. It's a different dynamic that puts things off kilter. Women spend thousands and thousands. I've helped so many women get their money back from other matchmakers. It's not even funny, because they know they can't help women, but they take their money. So anyway, so I created a program where I work with women all over the world, as young as 20, as old as 79 is my oldest lady right now. And they're still hoping to find an amazing, great guy. But almost all these women, almost all women and people in general need more help than they think they do. People think, oh, I've got it. No. And it's because of me doing what I do as a matchmaker that there's just a lot of things that you need to know. And especially if you want to bump up your style game and attract better men and all, it all goes hand in hand. So I get to do all that with the ladies. And I do use the structure of the dating apps because that's the only way. If they weren't on the dating apps, I couldn't see what they're doing. We would just be talking about pie in the sky stuff. But I actually do the dating apps with them. And it's one-on-one, although that's all about to change. I've been given too much for too long, Kimbra. And so, yeah, it's awesome because I am changing these women's lives and it's just
Well,
amazing.
I saw one. I don't know if it could. First of all, I follow you. I'm not on TikTok, but I do see your TikTok videos. I follow you on Instagram, Facebook, of course. But I saw some lady that you helped style, and then
Right.
she met she was a little bit older, and then she met some guy. I don't remember why this one sticks out in my mind, but I remember it was like you really morphed her.
Yeah, I'm more for all of them. I mean, my goodness, I wish my ladies would let me show all the before and afters. But what happens is initially they show up and they're like, sure, you can show before and afters. And then once I transform them and they see what a night and day difference and look back on how they were when they showed up, they're like, please don't show anybody how I looked. And
I know.
but the transformations are really mind blowing. I wish everybody would let me share, but I can only share which ones that are willing to let me share.
Sure.
But no, man, I am so because my program is divided into three kind of pillars, three phases. I level up their look and they take their own photos, usually a tripod and clicker and the light. I direct them virtually. Um, and I mean it, I am even shocked at how they're just like killing it. I'm like, what? Anyway, and so they do the photos first because honestly, it all begins and ends with your photos, right? And you got to look like your photos, but you just got to look great. You can't use these phony stuff,
Yeah, like
So
apps and stuff. The
like yeah,
filters, I
the
mean,
the
filters.
Facetune, the all you can't play games like that, okay? And so I do that, and then we move on once we do their dating profile, the Gina signature profile. Then we move on to them swiping on men, and they're sending me profiles of the men, and I teach them how to pre-qualify like I would. No, he's not good enough for you. This is an F. They think things are effort. Oh, he's showing up with effort. I'm like, what are you talking about? that's not effort.
Oh, you mean like you're advising them, like, okay, so just because they show up, they have to step it up a bit, or they have to
Yeah,
do, right?
correct. Yeah, everything is a test. Like I told this woman today on Instagram because she was wanted information about working with me. And part of that is I send these women like a 20-minute video. It's a long video to watch. But if they don't watch the video, then it tells me they're not serious about really doing the work because I don't want to help anybody that's not going to do the work because I
Oh,
only win if you win and
sure,
you only win if you do the work. You know what I mean?
for
So
sure.
anyway, so I said to her, everything's a test. Like I'm going to teach you how to test the men so that you're not wasting your time. So everything is a test. And yes, I teach them how to do certain things to get the men to step up their game, or either the men don't step up their game, which is fine. We just are able to pre-qualify quicker. And then how they're communicating. Those conversations are key because you know how like your girlfriends usually will say, this guy said this and that guy
Yeah,
said
yeah,
this.
yeah.
And you don't know what he really said. You just know what she's telling you.
Sure.
But context is key. Well, what did you say but before that to set him up to say that? Like you got to, and I see all of it. And it's exhausting. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I
It's
know. I could imagine because, when I've been in relationships before, it's so interesting. You may have some advice about this, but some women will say one thing, and then your other girlfriend will say the extreme opposite thing, and you're like, after a
right.
while, you're like, what? You know?
Right, absolutely. Well, and the other thing, like I said, a lot of people are giving you advice, not seeing the full context. You
Sure.
got to see the 360, right? You got
Right,
to
right, right.
like, and the women will try to just say, "Oh, Gina, and I got on a call with this guy, and da 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 da." I'm like, "You got on a call with him. You didn't show me how he showed up for you. You didn't show me how you were talking to him. Like, I gotta even see his whole profile. I need all those clues in
Sure.
order to put the whole accurate scenario together. You know what I mean? Like, and so when people are telling their girlfriends, or even when people are telling therapists aren't seeing all that stuff.
Right,
They're
right,
just going on what you tell them, and that may or may not be accurate, you know?
right, right. Yeah, that's true too.
Not-
That's really interesting, though. What you made a good point about, stepping up, because I guess some of these women are just, oh, he was nice, or he did, he paid for my dinner, but there's so many other things that go into, like, does he really want a real relationship too?
Right. Or a lot of guys and women get confused about this, will show up and they're like, "You're so beautiful. Oh, you've got great legs," and the women are like so flattered because, they're so dying for compliments. And a lot of times these men, especially if they're up to no good, they're going to be targeting the women that they know that don't feel good about themselves, which is why
Insecure.
leveling up your look and your profile is so important. Because if you're showing up, these guys, they can spot that from a mile away that you don't feel good about yourself. So they know all they have to do is come in, give you a few compliments, and then you're like putty in their hands. But it's just you're beautiful and got great legs or whatever. That's like generic stuff that they literally are copying and pasting to every woman. You know what I
I
mean?
know, I
Yeah.
know. That's so true. Now, a few years ago, you did a video with our friend Lisa Lou, right?
Yeah, Lisa.
Lisa, and that video was really good. Are you still doing that? That was part of the whole makeover thing, I remember with.
But what video did I do? I don't know what you're talking about. I
Oh
didn't.
gosh, it was one. I think it was about the women, like you were
You're
showing.
you're talking about they produced a sizzle reel for a show they were pitching for me.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was something you were using for promo, like for what you do.
No, no, they paid for it. They did all of it for me.
Oh,
They
wow.
approached me based on my book, Stop Being a Bitch and Get a Boyfriend.
Oh,
That was all them.
wow. I didn't know that. That's even better,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. It's just the only problem with the show, and the reason that it didn't get like picked up is because it didn't have a beginning, middle, and an end. It was just,
Concept, right?
how how it should have been pitched, really. I think because it was more about like me and but I think it should have been pitched as an ensemble, more like Real Housewives, more
Mhm,
like, what I mean?
mhm.
Because then they could have followed the women and they could have followed me. And my ego's not that attached that it had to be all about me. But I think if it was done in that format, that might have worked.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm so glad you clarified that. I didn't realize they were pitching you as a show.
Oh yeah, they had William Morris involved, and they had. I mean, I don't know, they spent a lot of money and a lot of time on it. Absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah, very
she's
flattering. I really like them very much.
yeah, her and her husband, um, whose name is
Peter.
Peter. I'm sorry, his name escaped me.
He created Judge Judy and A Current Affair and a
I
bunch
did.
of things.
I've been
Yeah.
at their I've been to their home a few times because
Yeah.
we were working on another project, and
Yes.
so she's so generous and really lovely. We've gone out for other things too, but I miss her kind of. I mean, I miss her. I kind of miss her, but she's sweet.
Live and around.
I know, right? I miss poor Lisa.
Always get together with her. How about that?
Yeah, I know. I should give her a call, right?
She's always
Anyway,
so busy though.
I know. Her and her husband are always traveling the world, and she's working on a big project, and I'm sure she's still working on it. It's very
She's
important.
always got something on.
Hmm, hmm.
She's always got something going on, something on.
Well, I hope she's got something on, but
I'm sure she does, although I've seen her naked a few. No, I haven't. I'm just kidding.
no, just kidding. Lisa. Um,
Anyway,
Getting back to you, Gina.
yeah.
Now, I am very proud of you because I know a couple years ago you bought that place, your mountain retreat, which you're at right now, right?
I came back today this morning, just drove back really fast so I could do this with you. But
That's
yes,
very smart. Very,
I'm
I
here
mean,
to call the
smart.
dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
smart of you to buy that. And then you also have a place now in Venice, right? Don't you?
Yes. So I was in Venice and then left Venice, bought this house in the mountains, and was just living here solidly for 3 years. Um, but I'm not that far from LA. It's only an hour and a half from LA anyway, so it's not like, but I think after 3 years it gets a little lonely and a little isolated, even though it's an adorable little town. But I needed to come back. I mean, in Venice is, come on, it can't, and that's Venice Beach, California. Some people think I mean Venice, Italy. No.
You're on that floaty island that's
Right,
sinking.
right, right. But no, Venice Beach is just so fun, and there's always something going on, and it makes you feel young, and it's really revived me going back. Thank God I went back.
It's vibrant. It's vibrant. That,
Vibrant, sure.
yeah. Yeah, it's like Venice is, I used to sing at this place right on the boardwalk. This was, gosh, maybe 5, 6 years ago, that supposedly the Doors got their start, but it's gone now. It's been torn down. But I used to see the characters you would not, Tree Man would come in. Remember, do you know Tree Man, the guy? He's always on these sticks and he looks like a tree.
Oh gosh, yes, that's right. Yes, yes, yes. I have to say, I don't get down to that Venice Beach area,
Right,
even though I live almost like 2 blocks from
right,
the
right.
beach there, but I don't really, I make it
Well,
as far as like Hama Sushi, and then that's
yeah,
about as far
well,
as I can.
I'm not recommending that you hang out there. It was just like my friends used to enjoy coming to see me because at first I was kind of embarrassed because it's a little dive. It was a divish, and they were
Yeah.
like, "No, we love the characters." I mean, they just used to sit there.
It's the best because even when I go to sushi, like at Hama Sushi, I say, you sit at the bar, and I mean, you don't even feel alone because it's always a cast of characters up and down, up and down. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm so glad that you still enjoy the cast of characters.
But oh, I love it. It's fun to, I mean, it's always somebody different, somebody interesting, some interesting. I can have conversations with anybody. I love to talk to
Right.
people.
You're a people person, and that's probably why you're good at what you do, though, because you have to pick up on things, and you have to really listen to the person,
Do.
you know, and
Yeah,
you have to think in your back of your mind, oh, okay, I know this guy would maybe like this person or not like this person, or you have to think in your mind probably, right?
for sure.
So, what is next for you though, Gina? Because you're going to
I
read.
always have something cooking.
I know. But what do you enjoy more? Do you enjoy them equally? Finding a woman for a man for a woman, styling a woman. What do you enjoy the most?
I'm gonna throw a zinger at you.
Uh-oh.
Uh, so I've always wanted to direct. The first thing I ever directed, I was in 8th grade. I wrote it and directed it. It was like a little movie for my 8th grade project or whatever. And and actually when I first came to LA, I was reading scripts for TriStar and I was working with women in film. There's a whole thing, and I've been writing and interested in film and things like this for a very long time. So, I mean, honestly, I would love to just I've created a bunch. I haven't done anything with it, trying to look for the right production company, but I've created a bunch of unscripted dating shows that I would love to start cranking out.
That is
I'd
a
love
really good
that.
idea.
I
Well,
would love.
yeah, that's a really good idea because, and the way the dating scene is changing now, and all that stuff, right? But with your eye, and then you could direct it too, and maybe produce it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's perfect. Well, I see you could do that though, because it seems to me like everything you're setting out to do, you've done it and you're manifesting it, right?
I mean, I'd like to do it. I mean, I have a lot of interest. Anything in the space. I have, a memoir I want to do about how I became this person. I'm like one of the most unlikely people to become a matchmaker that you could possibly be. And yet here I am. And so I have a memoir I want to do, and I have a lot of lofty goals. I actually have a dating app. I've had my own dating app before.
Right.
And now you can't hear the barking happening, can you?
Not really. I don't think so.
Okay, good, good. Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. I'm excited. Anyway, my 100 dogs barking. Um, so I have had my own dating app. You knew that, called Jones. I think you
Mhm.
knew that, right?
Yeah.
And so I still have this interest as well. And I've learned a lot. And now I have another idea. I'm not going to talk about it. I can tell you off, but
Sure.
so another dating app idea. So I might be revisiting that as well.
Yeah, you just have a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your philanthropic work too, though, the models and mutts. How did you get into that?
Okay, that actually came out of LA Talk Radio, believe it or not.
Mm. Hmm.
So, I at the time was on my second show at LA Talk Radio, and it was called Beyond Beautiful. And so I was interviewing beautiful, interesting women. Some weren't that interesting, but to be honest with you. But a lot of the girls were coming on were models, and they very sweet girls. And we usually ended up talking about animals one way or another, right? And we were talking about rescuing and all this stuff. And so I went ding, 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 ding. How can I put these gorgeous women to use? Like better use to help animals.
Mhm.
That is how it happened. And so I came up with models and mutts. And I never formed it as a 501(c)(3). I was sort of like the middleman, right? So I would match existing 501(c)(3)s with the models, and we'd do a campaign and we'd do a little fundraising event. And then towards the end of Models and Mutts, right as COVID hit, we were starting to go to high kill shelters.
Mm.
And because that's really where the need is. So I was taking the models down to high kill shelters. Bring a photographer. We'd create these great photo shoots for the dogs and cats that were red listed, that were in dire need of getting out of the shelter, or they were going to, be euthanized. So yeah, we were doing that. So that's how that came to be.
I know. I remember I came to your place in Venice or somewhere in Venice, and I brought a lot of clothes because you were doing some kind of drive. This was about 5 or so years ago, but I remember it was in Venice, and you were doing some kind of drive to get clothes, and I don't remember why now. But
Was it? Oh, I do remember that. I do
uh,
remember that. That was another thing. I mean, I like helping. What can I
yeah,
say?
right.
I like helping.
That's good.
So, cue my huge pit bull who's now trying to crawl into my lap
That's a
and talk.
pit bull. It does. It looks like a mix, though, right?
Well, you know what's funny? Yeah, so I did DNA on her. She does have boxer in her.
See, I
So
knew
yeah,
it.
yeah. So boxer and pit. Thank you so much.
Aw,
So, I like to help. So thank you so much. Whether I'm helping animals
right.
or, and my neighbor found her starving to death in the desert,
Aw,
and she was dazed. I mean, you wouldn't recognize her if I showed you the picture. It was her and
wow.
another dog. They'd been dumped in the desert. People just drive to the middle of nowhere and dump a dog. That happens all the time. And what happens, here's what I didn't know, is and unlike a dog that gets loose out of its gate and it starts running because it's like, woo, party time. When a dog gets dumped in an unfamiliar surrounding, they're so confused, they stay in that spot, hoping you're going to come back. And this is why they end up usually just dying there, especially if they're dumped in the middle of nowhere, because they're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and they won't
Right.
leave that spot. And that's
They're so
terrible.
loyal.
But
They're so loyal, right? Like they're waiting for them to come back, right?
just believe they're going to come back. Yes, exactly. So anyway, so I got her and another dog. And I got that one a home and ended up keeping her, which bumped me up to 5. So
Wow. Yeah, you're a dog lover like my friend Trish. She used to do those fostering things on the weekends, that you can foster them on the weekends until somebody gets them. You're
well,
hoping.
that's not on the weekends. It's fostering period. But I think what you're saying is they would have adoption events on the weekends.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't clear of all the details, but she's not doing it now, but it seemed like
Yeah.
it was always on the weekends.
Well, it was on the weekends when they were having their adoption events.
Oh, okay. Got it.
But
Got
when
it.
it wasn't on the, and she may not have actually even fostered. Maybe she showed up to be a volunteer at the adoption events.
No, they stayed at her house. I do remember
Right.
that.
So then they stayed at her house all the time, and then she would
Yeah.
bring them to the adoption events on the weekends. I'm
Yes.
guessing, I don't know, Trish, but I do know how it works.
Good guess.
So, yes, do know how it works. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I do. I mean, listen, I do all that stuff as much as I possibly can. Absolutely.
Oh, no, you're great. Now, I did want to bring up the fact that you had a very special guest on. No, for the people that are your clients, sometimes you have special guests like John Gray. You had an interview with him. Like, was it Zoom?
I still love to interview and talk to people. So for the women who are in my coaching program,
Mhm.
um, I do a lot of fun extra things. And one of the extra things I do is once a month, I do a special 2-hour live event at night. And it's recorded if they can't make it live, but I bring on special guests to like support them in different areas because what I'm giving them is specific to my skill set, right?
Mhm.
Um, but then I like to bring, but what I think women discover in my program is that there's different things that they also become aware of that they hadn't dealt with. And so they need other resources. So I'll bring on somebody who wants to talk about beauty and staying young, or somebody who talks about how to have more confidence or be better in bed or whatever. And so in this case, this was a big one. I got John Gray to
He's
join.
famous.
I know. Oh, he's such a big deal. I was so excited. But when I had LA Talk Radio back in the day, I had the woman who wrote Calling in the One and
Mm.
some big people on back then. It's just been a while for those shows. But yeah, John Gray was a big get for us. So that was awesome. And he was a great
Ah,
guest. He
was
he
he?
was he didn't have a lot of time, but he was great.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because I remember when that Men Are From Mars, Women Are From
Yeah.
Venus came out. That was such that was such a huge bestseller, that book.
Right. Oh,
And
well, no, it's been a spinoff for him. He has, he's done a whole series based on the
yeah,
Mars Venus
yeah,
concept. I mean,
I
there's
know.
so many, so many. And he's written a book on ADHD and like sci-fi novels. And I mean, the man just writes and writes and writes and writes and writes.
Speaking of that, with your books, how long, because you've written, you said four. So how long does it take you to actually finish a book?
Depends. I mean, I'm not, I think that, see, the books were easier to write before I got so busy with, once I got kind of popular on social media, that became its own thing.
I know.
Before I was under the radar, I had time, I was just doing the matchmaking but once I, got, like all these women coming at me from social media and then created the coaching and then started doing all this stuff, you don't have as much time and then I got all these animals and it's like, but I know I need to, I can't really tell you how long it takes because I'm just doing it piece at a time right now.
Well,
So
I remember I came to your book signing for I think it was The Great Manhunt that I came to
it
see.
was stop. No, it was, I didn't do a book party for that.
Oh, you
So
didn't?
it was my first book, Stop Being a Bitch and Get a Boyfriend. And
Oh,
remember I had it on a Hollywood Boulevard at the W Hotel.
yes.
So fun. I mean, so many people. My God, that was so fun.
I know that you were like the big deal. I think I brought my friend Trish actually. And,
Okay. Yeah,
and
it was
I think
fun.
she bought a book. And then if it was her that I brought, and I remember you signed it. So that was cool. It was
It was
you
fun,
were a
yeah.
big deal. You were a big shot.
People were coming up, coming up, coming up, and I, coming at me so fast that it was like hard for me to kind of keep up how I remembered. Like this one girl I will never forget. Still think about her. She brings her boyfriend up. Gina, I want you to meet I've got a boyfriend now. I was like, oh, awesome. And he's like, she talks about you all the time. I have no idea who they are. I have no idea who they are.
Oh, I know
No.
that happens to me sometimes. I'm like, who is this person again? Because, you get so many people coming at you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this. How do you get your men clients, first of all? Do they approach you? Do they find out about you? How do you?
For a long time, it used to be word of mouth only, referral, referral, referral. But now it's social media. It's almost always social media, or they've heard me on podcast interviews, or it's funny because is my audience is mainly women. I have probably 90% women.
Mhm.
Uh, but of the 10% of the men, they're pretty loyal too. And they say, the advice you give women, I just reverse engineer it for myself. And I need to do more videos for men. It's just they don't ever do as well because I just don't have the audience. You know what I mean? It's like this catch-22 kind of thing. But they are finding me on social media, and they are, like, right now I have a waiting list to join my matchmaking because I can only take so many on, and they
Sure.
keep showing up and they keep showing up. And I'm picky too about who I work with. I mean, the secret, I do really well. I'm a great matchmaker, but
Mhm.
the secret to my success is the fact that I'm only going to work with a guy that I already know I'm going to have success with. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
Like that,
Well,
and that sets me up for success.
are there men that you just think, oh God, this guy, it's going to be too hard to find somebody for him? Why? Because they're too picky, maybe,
Yeah,
or
they're too picky. Absolutely. Women, or they're unattractive. Women aren't going to like them. Or yeah, they ask for weird things like, oh, can you find a woman that's going to be dominant in the bedroom for me?
oh
I'm like,
God,
how in the world am I going to do that? You know what I mean?
I'm going to
Or
ask it on the list. Are you? No, I'm kidding.
right, right. Yeah, I get strange things sometimes where I'm just like, yeah, I don't think
I'm
this
going to
is
take
the
a hard pass on that one. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Next.
That's interesting. Yeah. And so that's good that you're picky though. And that
Yeah,
also that you only work with a certain amount of people, because then it would be too, too hard if you had too many people.
I can't even imagine. I think that that's what gets matchmaking companies in trouble. I think to the layperson that doesn't know or understand the industry, they think you should be a behemoth with all these people.
Sure.
But think about it. How in the world can you possibly know your clients and feel good about them
Mhm.
and know what's going on? You can't. And then that's where they have to start hiring, people under them who
Sure.
don't also know what they're really doing. Plus, it's not their company, so they don't
Right.
care that much.
Sure.
They're just collecting a paycheck, and that is where you get in trouble.
Right. Right. And then with the women, are there ever women that you get that approach you? You're like, oh, I don't think I can work. I don't think she's going to listen to me, or I don't think,
For my program.
yeah, for the women
Yeah.
that you coach.
Yeah, for my coaching program.
Yeah.
Uh, I say it's so much more than coaching. It's transformation. Anyway, um, but because coaching just sounds like, I don't know. I'm actually
You
hitting
get
my head
in.
with people,
Yeah. I agree.
in it with them. But anyway, yes, absolutely. There's been times where I would say, yeah, this is not going to work. Like I've had women sign up and they just, yeah, don't want to do the work. This refuse to do the work. I'm like, well, then what am I supposed to do? I'm not magical. I'm good at manifesting. I'm good at a lot of things, but I can't like wave a wand and but that's typical kind of a lot of programs people sign up for. They sign up for programs and just think by signing up magic's going to happen, and they don't do the work. I've signed up for things and not done the work. I'm sure you have, just different things.
Sure.
Um, it does happen.
You're right. It's just the little steps too every day,
Yeah,
that you
little
do.
steps every day. Absolutely.
You got to change your life
And the
and
women in my program, they never want to leave. So even when their time ends with me, I have a way that they can extend their time, and they revert kind of to ongoing monthly. And they usually do that because they like to stick around.
because Gina's just so nice and friendly.
Well, I just try to help them, and like I said, they need more help. No, I'm not I'm
I
friendly.
know.
Boy,
I shouldn't say that. You're pretty
I am
direct. You're very
I am
direct.
tough as shit. I'm like, listen, Meg, you're not even listening to me. So if you don't listen to me, how are you going to get the results? Like I tough talk them.
Yeah,
And so you can't be like a snowflake with me
sure.
because I don't know how to deal with a snowflake. I only know how to be me. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings or be rude. But at the same time, you don't need to spend more money on somebody who's just going to tell you what you want to hear, because nobody's really telling people what they need to hear.
That's
And
true.
and
That's
this is where I come in.
Yeah. I just had a guy friend of mine who told me that you can't be afraid to be yourself too. You know what I mean? Like in
I agree.
relationships, because if you're always walking on eggshells and afraid to be yourself in any kind of relationship, then it's not going to work. So, but you will guide the woman or you coach the man too, obviously. The men that, no,
I it depends. It depends. I have this one client and he calls me coach, which is like, you didn't hire me for coaching. Hey, coach, what's going on today? Hey, coach. And I love him.
yeah,
But, it's interesting because what I realize is that really doesn't want my coaching. He wants to tell me how to coach certain women that he's going out with. Do you know what I mean? He's
Mhm.
doing some sort of he's trying to do some ninja mind tricks on me, but he can't because I know what's going on. And I've even pointed that out to him. So, it's interesting how people approach things. Life is interesting. Let me tell you.
Manipulate.
A little manipulative, a little
Yeah.
manipulative. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was kind of late to the game about that, because I pretty much take things face value,
I do.
yeah. But as I've gotten older, I realize a lot of people are, and sometimes in good ways, because you learn how to become a better person and to talk to people a certain way to get them to do things. You just have to be aware some people are manipulators.
Right. And that's kind of one thing I've learned about men too. I've learned so much about men from having my matchmaking business. It's great because I see how men do things, especially when they're very high level, like the guys I work with. They're very good at managing you. And some men manage me in different ways where I don't even mind it. I know I'm being managed, but and then there's some who manage me and I notice it and it just becomes too much. Or, but everybody has their different styles and it's interesting because I will try to always point out to them what I see, um, because I get the feedback from the women. So the women will tell me about my guys. My guys will give me feedback on the women, right? So I have a very unique perspective. I'm able to see what the men do right and wrong. I'm able to see what the women do right and wrong and how they interact and how they communicate. And, most dating coaches and relationship experts don't have that kind of behind the scenes knowledge of both people with millions of personalities, millions of, not millions, but,
Wow.
hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands over the years.
We've been doing this a while. Like we said, 2008.
Coming up on 17 years in April, yes, indeed.
Wow. We're gonna have to have a party when you do the 20th anniversary.
Yes, indeed. That would be fun. Yeah, for sure.
Back to the W? No, the one in
Yeah,
Hollywood.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm sure there'll be something else I'd probably rather go to at that
Yeah.
point. I don't know.
Maybe something in Venice.
Need to get out of Venice. I mean, maybe something in Beverly Hills because that's kind of a good meeting
In between, yeah. There's a lot of
ground.
good places in Beverly Hills, I think.
Lot.
Now, how can people find you other than like on TikTok? And I mean, do they go to your website, right? They could go to your website.
Yes. Okay, so they can go to ginahendrix.com,
Hmm.
GinaHendrix.com.
Hmm.
They can go there. Or for women, they can go to another site I have called
Oh,
thegreatmanhunt.com.
right.
And so there they can get my books. That's where it's more about anything outside of matchmaking. They can book a love call with me. They can buy my
Wait,
books
wait,
because
what's a love call?
it's like a love consultation, a
Oh,
phone
okay.
call with me, and they can pick my brain about whatever they have going on.
I like that. Or maybe
So
I'll book a love call.
do that. And so they can do that there. And then what that's yeah, I think that's they YouTube. I'm on YouTube Matchmaker Gina Hendrix. I'm on TikTok Matchmaker Gina Hendrix.
Oh,
I'm on
and by the way, I love your little videos, like I said it earlier, but you do give good advice and a lot of advice on those little clips that you have on Instagram where like, well, you're saying, I can't remember the last one, but you'll say, I've given you 3 tips, and then you'll do 1, 2, 3, and they're always good.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody thanks me for giving. I give a lot away for free.
Mhm.
But there's still so much more people need to know. But so I'm not worried about it. I don't play games and like tell them a little bit, but not enough. The whole
Right.
strategy mindset that you're supposed to
Sure.
do, don't really tell them. I just tell them.
Right.
Because I love to help people. So it's fun. I can't even not help people at this point. Even
Right.
when I'm at the sushi bar, I'm helping people. I'm giving them advice. On my left, on my right, I'm helping them.
So as soon as you tell people you're a matchmaker or whatever,
Yeah.
they're like, Gina.
Forget about it. Yes, then it becomes a tax write-off at that point.
Oh, that's a good point, right?
Yep, 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 for sure.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this because I know you do a lot of big podcasts and you're dealing with celebrities all the time, but I am going to spread the word because I do have a, loyal, faithful women group that follows me. So maybe someone will call you.
That would be great. They can always reach out to me. And they can email us too at teamgina@ginahendrix.com as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's right. Because I think I've emailed her too. You have an assistant, right, who helps
I
you?
have a couple of them.
Yeah, right, good. Because she's such a big shot. She's busy woman.
Got a lot going on. What can I say?
Yeah.
It's, it's a lot, it's a machine. It is a machine for
And
sure.
even just taking care of the dogs is enough.
God, I have three jobs. So I've got the matchmaking, I have the coaching, and I have all the dogs. Well, and cats. I've got three cats too.
Wait, how many dogs? 10, right?
No, I was joking about
Oh,
that. Well, technically I have five, but
five.
then I have a rescue pug, long-haired pug that I got from an unhoused woman who was selling a pug and a husky in a parking lot right before Thanksgiving. I bought them. I got the husky a home. Now I got to get the pug a home. He's a wild man. Um, so technically, I mean, I guess I have six right now, but five are really mine.
Right.
And then I have three cats. But the
Okay.
cats are no trouble at all.
And they get along, the cats and the dogs?
Yes, because the cats were raised by the dogs, so they're just so used to dogs and they don't get afraid. I've done it in reverse. I've done it where I had cats and got dogs. That's a big mistake because the cats weren't used to it, and then it becomes, because what happens is if you have cats that aren't used to dogs and you get a dog, the dogs are going to chase, the cats are going to run. Then it becomes a whole thing. But my cats don't run because they're not afraid, so it doesn't become a game, and therefore everybody gets along.
Oh, that's great. So it's a little symbiotic thing with the world is your cat and dog.
Even if the dogs try to like go at the
Right.
cats are like, what are you doing? And
I
they
know.
just run off.
I know. Like, what? Who do you think you are?
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Gina. And this will be coming out, I think, in a couple weeks, but I'll let you know. Okay.
Thanks, Kimberly. You're great. Your makeup looks great
I know.
today.
And the lighting is fabulous.
Yes, yeah, I need to remember to step up my game when I'm around you.
Well, it's just that when I see myself and the lighting doesn't look good, I'm like, oh.
I've had to get over that. I mean, I did a really big podcast that I didn't know was a really big podcast because my assistants didn't tell me and I hadn't heard of it. And I go and it was an in-person thing and I was like sweaty and like a hot mess. And then come to find out it's a pretty big podcast. And I was like, oh, I was so humiliated. So, it just is what
But
it
you
is.
look good no matter what. I mean, like you don't have much makeup on now, and when I see you do your little
Thank you. I don't really wear much makeup. That's true.
that's good. Well, because you're kind of a natural person. And
I
to be
know.
honest with you, when I'm not filming stuff, I don't wear any makeup because it's just too much work.
I know it's a lot of work. Here's what I find is the problem. At night when I'm tired,
Yes.
when it's like, oh, I gotta take
I
my
gotta
makeup
take this
off.
off. You know what? You don't really look like that? Yeah, no, I gotta take it off.
Right, exactly.
All right, Gina, have a great
Right.
day. I'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.